GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Now it's working. Now we're cooking with the gas. Now it's working. Okay. All right. Well, so that took a little going. My co-host is sleeping. Clover didn't even show up, so I'm having to run this solo, do all the button pushing myself, which is a lot of work for me. All right, so we're chatting about coaching, and somebody didn't set the show up ahead of time this week. You know what I'm saying? So today we're going to be doing a live version of you coach my content, or we coach your content. I coach your content because Clover is scared to show up. Clover doesn't have opinions about people's content, so he probably doesn't want to show up and offer opinions about it. But here's the deal. If you want to have your content judged in front of a bunch of people by me or us, go ahead, put it in here, and I'll judge it. So we're going to, I guess, start somewhere. I'll go ahead and screen share. Right like this. Clicking that button, and then a series of other buttons will allow me to bring this up onto the screen, and then I can push the dog down here for the puppy cam. This is the authentic puppy. A lot of chats refuse to have authentic puppies verifying their chat. A lot of chats will just use a boring watermark, like up at the top right of this screen. That's a boring watermark. This puppy is, in effect, a natural watermark. No one can fake this puppy. No AI can fake this puppy. There's no way that this puppy can be manipulated by the AIs to be fake or do things that he wouldn't normally be doing. He's just hosting the show with his friend Mello after they drove around in their van by the lake because they were going swimming with that lady and each other because they have a boat. It's no big deal. He also goes hiking. All right, so we're going to be judging some contents. Give us some contents. We will judge it. Oh, look at this. So first off, many people don't realize this, but anytime we have a good morning, this dog gets fed for it. And today we had a fairly good morning, so this dog did get fed for it. But there's some extra cash on the table. There's one. $1.99 worth of super chats. Thank you very much. You'll also get a bonus petting on the head. And a jab with a fork. A jab with a tiny fork. A lot of people are afraid to jab at puppy with a tiny fork on a video. I'll do it. I don't care. It's not a stunt. I would be jabbing at puppy with a fork anyway. I'm just doing it on video also. All right, thanks for that. Puppy has grown. This puppy's getting smaller. I think he's like a shrinky dink. Every time you put him outside when it's sunny, he gets a little bit tinier. So we're over here looking at my feed. We could judge some of this content. Is this new? I guess it is. So we've got our cool logo or our cool content here with the megaphone. Super cool. What do we got here? Canadians. The Canadian. Yeah, I don't know what CCFR stands for. Canadian Committee of Firearms Representatives or something like that. And it says clone. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So I think that's a creepy thumbnail. Doesn't make me want to click on it. Makes me want to keep moving. Then we've got this one from what's his face. He uses a lot of defaults. And people dig that, I guess. The red on yellow. I don't like it. But looks like a comic book a little bit to me. And then all that ammo in the background. I don't know. I don't like that one. It's a pretty bad one. He does pretty good ones sometimes. Oh, what do you know? Polite Society podcast. Second Amendment Foundation. Fourth largest entity at the national level. And they don't even have their logo on the screen. MacMan, he's just doing. Do you think he picked this one, or was this just a random screenshot? It's hard to know. He's a dude up here in Phoenix and into reloading and does a live chat on the regular. And this, he might just be the default picture. Going down to one of our thumbnails. Amazing. Look how clear that thumbnail is. It's so enticing. It makes you want to go in there and click on that and maybe even buy it. Then we got Patriot with his picture of Reagan there. I'm guessing that's just the standard, the default one that came up. Can I zoom in on these? Maybe I can zoom in on these. Let's enhance. Let's just enhance a little bit so y'all can see these a little bit easier. I care about the viewer. So now we're looking at these much larger. Shorts all suck. Anybody that puts sports in their shorts, even worse. Oh, look at this though. This is one of them fancy calculator learning things that the kids use for science at the schools. That makes me want to click on that and probably even buy it. Okay, here we get back down to now we got Riding Shotgun with Charlie. What does it say? Jim Shepard, the Outdoor Wire publisher. So I guess we know what that is. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Bring anything to drink over here. Dang it. So guess what? We're playing. You want to blame somebody for this? You blame Clover for this because this is where he'd be saying stuff, but he refuses to join in today. So now I got to just play a commercial while I go get something to drink. But I'm about to die, so I'm gonna go get something to drink. But the puppy's gonna go in the boat and go get us something to drink. So what do I got? That's a nice long meaty commercial. How about this one? Go buy some stuff.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items. We have shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. you get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
Oh, evidently you put a whole bunch of commercials on and it gets Clover to come in. Good morning. Welcome.
I mean, I like I like money. Commercials need money.
So, yeah, I didn't set up a show, and I've been eating a lot of cheese, so I think I'm dealing with some kind of a cheese situation here. But I feel like a truck ran over me this morning, so I barely just got up and made it a we rate your content type of situation. So, if you remember, you might not remember this, but back in the old days, on Thursdays, you would do this thing where people would say their stuff at you, and then you would go to their channel and to say about their stuff.
Yeah.
So if people want to do that, we'll do that. Otherwise, I've just been working on people's thumbnails over here on my feed.
Yeah.
So, MacMan, the Reloading Show, where did it go? I don't know if you watch that show, MacMan Reloading. This one. I'm thinking that's just a default thumbnail. Just happened to be a pretty good picture of like a, was that a progressive mesh? No, yeah, that's a progressive.
It's really, really hard to tell what it is because it's a progressive or a turret of some type. But
that's what I said.
Yeah, with a background, there's really no contrast. I mean, if you know what you're looking at, right? It's one of them things.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know what it is, then it just looks like a mess, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that's just the default. I don't think he set that one. Now, Writing Shotgun with Charlie, I'm sure you've seen enough of his. His are pretty
Yeah, he uses the same. Yeah. Same design. Did my mic and all quit, or did yours? Because you went really quiet. I'm gonna check my settings. Because, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if I'm talking to myself or not. But I do have the opportunity, or I can go here. So yeah, I'm showing myself. I'm showing the earthquake lines on there for myself. So I don't know. G lost his mic or he lost his connection completely because he gone. So yeah, I didn't know. Sometimes my headset kicks out. Yeah, we'll wait, see if he jumps back in, I suppose. So, whatever. If you there's questions out there or whatever, throw them out. We can definitely talk about them. I don't know. I don't think this show. There's 9 folks watching. It says on this, and so I don't know out of those 9 if there's anybody that wants to look over the channel or anything like that, like the channel review, which is what G was talking about doing today. But I can say that most of the ones I see out there in the live chat from Gear Report, Snob, Gizzard, Ghost, especially those, you guys don't need channel reviews for sure. So anything I would tell you, you pretty much already know and or already do. I know that if we're speaking in generalities when it comes to a lot of the things, channel reviews are tough. And Tuesdays is one of those things that's really weird. You can get channel reviews, well, if you're lucky. Over on the vidIQ channel, they do channel reviews on Tuesdays as well. I don't know if they're live now or they will be a little later on. I think it's a little later on. But I see people giving channel reviews and talking about the same things that they used to talk about once upon a time back in the day, like the same strategies and the same type things. And The problem with that is YouTube works a lot differently now, and especially with shorts. Oh my God, especially with shorts. So I don't know if anybody else, if it's driving them completely insane and up the wall, but YouTube Shorts, um, I'll pay attention to, you've got your top 3 or whatever in your dashboard, like your top 3 for the past 48 hours. And my stuff is consistently over there, is consistently shorts. And it's driving me insane because shorts don't pay money. Shorts do not drive engagement. Shorts, I mean, they can get you some subs, I guess, but overall, at the end of the day, shorts are freaking pointless. Like, this sucks. But shorts on the same token are sort of a necessary evil, right? You almost have to crank out some shorts, and it's aggravating. Where was I going with that? Oh, the changes on the platform. Hey, Juice back. Maybe. We'll see. I heard a dink, so I'm guessing that he's here. We'll get back in.
I think I'm still. Am I back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've barely got any internet. I did a full reboot and everything, so I don't know. Maybe they're working on something around here. Sorry about leaving you hanging there for like 20 minutes.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I kind of went on a rant there.
Okay.
You were looking
so,
you were looking at the the pages when we left, and it's like I didn't want to screen share or bring anything up, so I just kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent about a lot of the tips and tricks. You were talking about, when I used to do the show, and how a lot of the tips and tricks and a lot of things on YouTube has changed since we've done that show, and also talked about a lot of the folks that were out there joining us today, being already knowing pretty much everything that we'd say if we did a channel review on their channel anyway, because they already know all of it. They've been around long enough. They're hip to be square, so to speak. Anyway, that's what we were doing. You come back. Yeah, we were talking about Charlie. Yeah, he's got his idea of what he wants, and it's consistent if nothing else. I don't know that I'm a fan of how he does his, but it's consistent if nothing else.
I'm gonna start plugging in my backup wireless modem here, or my what do you call it, phone modem. But a lot of people use the defaults when they're either new or they're busy or they just don't care that much about the content side of it. They're doing it to go through the paces, or maybe to, they don't know what the end result's going to be, or they don't have a lot of ambition with it, so they're just going through the paces or whatever. They're going through the numbers, and they'll do whatever the software default is. So maybe the background or the font, when you open up software, it has to give you some font, and a lot of people will, when that font comes up, one of the things they'll do is change what the thing says, because maybe it says hello or something. They change it to what they want it to say, and then they'll change the color, and then they might change, like if there's a shadow, and they're also going to change the font itself. But then other people don't even care or have any interest in doing any of that. So what you get is the default fonts, sometimes literally the default, but often like this, of the first 12 samples you get in like the software, the Apple software or the Windows software, and you start to see those on multiple videos. And the question there, if you're following what I'm saying, like these, you open up the software and you don't change too many parameters and you just create your content, it ends up looking like the same physically, like visually, it looks the same as everybody else who did the same thing. What are your feelings on that when people use those defaults? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's really horrible. But the fonts is really horrible when somebody does not use a font that they use a really thin, wispy. Some of the chicks are the worst about it. But they'll use a thin, wispy, whatever font. I think Charlie's font even. Not only we were talking about that, his font's not only too thin. We've talked about this. Is something he could change. Not anything him and I say him and I, not me and you. We've specifically talked about his thumbnail. I've actually sat down on a StreamYard before with him, with Photoshop, and we walked through thumbnail design. So, um, but yeah, I mean, minimize your words first of all. Make them, whittle that down to as impactful as possible. He basically restates his title, which is the worst thing you can do. And then there's no manipulation of the screen grab, whatever he's used with him and the guest. So, um, but I taught him how he could change what's outside the windows. I'm like, you could run transparency on the windows and put the skyline of whatever city you're in, or some kind of
Oh, that'd
scenescape
be interesting. Yeah, I was
of
going to say the thing that you
whatever
could,
area you're in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
like, you
then
could
there's
yell
plenty
at
of room.
what's in the window. Yeah.
Maximize the maximize the size of you and the guest, where you completely fill the screen, the template vertically, and then whatever room in between, and then do that in the back window, the background, and then in between, 2 or 3 word catchy quote of something they said. You know what I mean? Like, what did they, you know, through that conversation? Was there a part of that conversation as you was editing, you thought, oh man, that was pretty good? Take like 3 words that are catchy, clickbaity, whatever you want to call it, clickbait in a good way, right? And then put those in quotes and put those in the middle, not the episode and the guest and that's in the title. And if somebody knows who that guest is anyway, they recognize them. The problem is a lot of folks ain't going to recognize who the guest is. So it's not like you're pulling people in. Um, you're not going to pull new people in, I should say, with Charlie. You're going to pull 2A people in probably anyway, because they're familiar with who you are and what you're doing. I mean, Charlie's been around a while, but with new people, you're gonna have to get it flashier and have it catchy little snippet, or do something to get the new people in. And she's gone again, and I don't know. Uh, maybe he's rebooting and getting on the different internet, but we need to. I don't know.
Sorry, just over
I'm
the internet.
there on about Charlie, but yeah.
Yeah, I think those are interesting ideas for the windows and stuff. And uh, you were talking about those little skinny fonts and that. And I don't think there's a place. I don't know where there's a place for those. I mean, I guess they made them for something, but they're essentially useless. Do you think that a thumbnail, you should be able, if you're going to write something in the thumbnail, you should be able to read it without your glasses on, or like from across the room, or
Oh,
at a glance,
absolutely.
right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no point writing something if it's going to be a
You're gonna
tiny
write something,
paragraph,
an
or it's just.
arrow. Yeah. Yep.
But ideally, you don't have to write anything anymore. Like you said, being redundant to the title is useless and useless. It's beyond useless, because the
In a
robots aren't going to
Charlie
read.
situation, I don't necessarily think you do. I mean, Snob's right. A really good the photo, you can get by with a really good photo, right? You can legit take. I'm talking
Oh,
about have a good
if you're
camera,
saying,
take a good photo of like an item, right? Of if it's product review of an item, and you just have the picture of that, and you can absolutely 100% get by with that. But it depends on the topic of the video. Like, a lot of people don't give that any thought. They don't relate the topic of the video to the thumbnail design and what elements kind of need to be there. Again, in Charlie's space, and because his content is so unique, that's we're not picking on Charlie. It's because his content is unique in a way, and so it presents certain challenges, I think, because of that. But you know, it's people that he's interviewing, people that the vast majority of people don't know. So, like, why do I care? I know that's Charlie. I've seen his channel before. I've seen him around. I don't know who the person is sitting next to him, and so, like, why do I click on that? Oh, great, it's episode whatever of the podcast I already know, with some person's name there as a title. Okay, why do I care? That little bit of snippet of a quote or something could be the catchy thing that, what did this person say? And so I click it to try to see, how am I going to tell in an hour long conversation, right? I'm not going to go to that spot immediately. And I'm not even going to really be able to scrub to figure that out. Um, and if I'm intrigued by that little quote, little 2, 3 word, whatever quote snippet thing, then I end up watching the entire episode to figure that out. It's a thing. I don't know if you're muted or not, G.
Oh yeah, it helps if I unmute. So there's Charlie again, and like you're saying, he's got the window between them there. You could easily have the destination or the city or something back there. The logo is
Notice his pull off of the thumb, but notice that it's really weird. His the and there's no depth to the text he's using as well. You notice it gets washed in the back window in the corner and on the guy's shirt. It doesn't pop off the
have an
screen.
outline or a border
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
Shadow, and both of those would pop.
Well, depth, but yeah. But notice too, this is crazy. There's more text on the thumbnail than there is in the title. That's insane. Like it's completely opposite of
That's a good point.
Conventional thinking.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So the robots read, humans look, at least in 2023 still. So we're looking with our eyes and understanding, and the robots are just reading. So when the robots read RSWC, they don't care about that at all. They're probably thinking of this as some kind of cracker, product shortening, or like some electronic thing, or maybe a medical thing. Like somebody already stole those
or
initials.
Some kind of rural soil and water conservation district or something.
Yeah, like these none of this. Charlie's crazy if he thinks they're coming up with this. Writing the name of your show in your title is not necessary. It's redundant anyway. But then number sign, I don't like putting number signs. It's neat for YouTube. It triggers some stuff, but it does the same on everything else. Every other system out there, I advise against using number signs, but whatever. And then just Jim Shepard. So it's an opportunity to go Jim Shepard, maybe the Outdoor Wire joins us in the coach or something like that. The stagecoach, I guess he calls it. But yeah, having a descriptive title lets the robots read it. Putting it up here makes us have to look at a thumbnail and then start reading this book. So I agree with you. I was going to say before, when you're talking about lack of words up here, having like some blurb, just 2 or 3 words that was something from it, like, can you believe it? Or, and then he said what? Something to make you go, oh, that's what they talked about in this one. Maybe it's not necessary, but that's the only words I would put in there. I was also going to say, I think Charlie's and a lot of other people are ripe for, I think he should have like a cartoon at the beginning of his show. He should have the intro instead of just being a bunch of clips like he does. This is essentially his intro right here. I think he should cartoon all these. Send them to
him with like a Looney Tune. Can you imagine, like,
in some style,
the Wile E. Coyote desert background with a stagecoach with a cartoon Charlie? That would be so freaking awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of themes out there, but yeah, pick a theme that you can create. That you could task creators to create.
And he could use the same audio. I think his audio is fine.
Oh yeah, the audio is. That's what I'm saying. Like in that audio though, and then some of his key guests cartoon them with the same style, and then going forward, you make it a thing where either you let people participate in it or you just hire some people to do it. But he doesn't do he doesn't do a show more than once a week. He doesn't even do a show weekly. So he's doing it at a pace that it could be done. And then that gives you the chance for your thumbnail to dig into that and have your 2 cartoon figures there with a cartoon car. And you could do it in like a million different styles, like very expensively fancy or super crude, and but you could then do your element, whatever the destination is, the cartoon Alamo in the back, the cartoon Liberty Bell, whatever it is, wherever you're at, even if it's just the shape of the state or something. So let's keep moving. So that's Charlie's one dude. He's got a 9 to 5. He's trying to do this stuff. He's not getting paid to do it. So, he's getting it done. So in that respects, we're not ragging on him at all. He's doing a great job for an individual with his amount of ambition. He doesn't wake up going, how do I get better on YouTube every morning? He's like, oh, I want to do what I want to do, get the word out about 2A, meet people and share what I'm exploring. But, I know I need to do it on YouTube, but he also knows he needs to do it on podcasts, and he probably does it on Facebook. He probably does it on a couple other platforms. So this is just one of the tasks he does when he's finished, when he's doing the work. Okay, so with that in mind, we've got Armed Attorneys next. Texas company attorneys working with some of the national things out there, and they're definitely ambitious. Like, they know what they're doing, they know what to do, they're following path. Where you at with their thumbnail?
Just the whole text thing is where I get hung up on their stuff. I mean, that particular thumbnail with Emily there, they could lose the banner with the text at the bottom, and it would have the exact same effect. Literally, with that expression, with that thumbnail, like, I don't understand the background on that. But it's got good contrast and everything to her, so like I'm not terrible with
Well,
it.
once you
But
read
again,
it, you can
one
figure out
word
it's in a bus or
in
whatever.
the
But yeah,
in the blue area of, yeah, I'm looking trying to even see, like I still don't see it. But in the
this was
area in
on
between
the
her
side of
head,
a bus, and that's like a European. Or no, this is the underside of an airplane. That's a European bus or train. Maybe it makes.
I kind of see it now. Yeah, yeah, okay, I see it. Like a plane going over a building almost or something.
Well, no,
But
this is
anyway,
another bus. This is a city bus, and this is a road bus from Europe, and then that's like
okay.
it's ridiculous. You're right.
Maybe it's, yeah, it's cluttered. I mean, anyway, it's irrelevant. Like I said, the contrast is there and whatnot. So in between her hand and her head, I'd like to see like literally one buzzword or something, and then get rid of the red and get rid of who cares about all that. I mean, it's pointless. You're just restating the title anyway. So um, that's for humans to read. That text is too small. Um, I can read it, but if it was any smaller on my screen and I'm not on mobile. For people on mobile, it would be interesting if they can even like turn their phone sideways or whatever and be able to read that.
Nobody's going to. I mean, even if they could, they're not gonna.
I'm
And
not even going to
because they're
try.
not. Yeah. And here's another thing that I don't know. You're seeing it, but the times are coming up right on top of everything, so it just
It's
says planes,
it's
trains, and
hard.
blue.
Yeah, but stuff in the text or anything that you want people to see in the bottom right corner has consistently always been a horrible place to watch out. You've got to be careful with the bottom right corner for sure. That being said, I have noticed, and this is something that changes consistently, and it depends on whether it's showing up on YouTube, where it's showing up at on YouTube, whether it's embedded in another site. But certain things are going to get covered up. Like, there's really no way around it. Um, so wherever you place things, you're going to look at that thumbnail on some other platform embedded or some other place on YouTube, and you're like, man, it don't look as good there, right? Um, but the home feed on YouTube primarily needs to be where it looks right, and the timestamp in that situation, as you can see here. Charlie's, in contrast, right there, Charlie's is over his logo, and it's kind of in the bottom corner of his logo, so it's not absolutely. There's nothing really critical there, whereas that's right over a word. And the issue, not that you can read that word, right? Depending on how you're looking at that. Like I said, I'm not the fan of that banner with the words to begin with, even being there. I think that it's pointless. But now you've got something pointless that on top of it being pointless is covered up. So like two strikes. I mean, they do a lot of good. They're obviously following recipes. They know what they're doing. But I don't understand. And they have better thumbnails. That's the thing. Like that's one of the latest
Yeah, yeah.
thumbnails, and that's
We didn't come up with these and like pick these specific. We're
yeah.
just going through the feed
Yeah,
here.
they
Yeah.
absolutely. I know for a fact they have better thumbnails because I watch their stuff. I see their stuff come up all the time. That's a very bad example of a thumbnail from them, in my opinion.
Like having the logos, it's worth it. Charlie's he's got one and he uses it all the time, and it's too big.
I don't
And
know if your face. I don't know if the face of the channel is in the thumbnail all the time. That the logo is as important, but I also
well, I'm
like to
just
see
saying
the
for
logo.
consistency. But yeah, I guess if you've got something else that's throughout it, yeah.
I also like to see. I've I set my logos up. Everybody's got their own way of doing things, and that's fine. But I'm going to explain why I do what I do. I set my logo up in a template that is separated from the photo and the image itself. The reason that I do that is to not only make the logo stand out a little more, but it's also so it doesn't get washed away and detract from the photo and what's actually in the thumbnail image. It's a part of the thumbnail, but it's not really a part of what's branding on the thumbnail or branding within the thumbnail, not actually part of the thumbnail experience itself. The when you just throw your logo like Charlie Armed Attorneys, Jared's doing it right there where it's just thrown in over the top. To me, it just doesn't look clean, and I don't know that it makes a difference one way or the other, quite honestly. And I'm not saying it does, but there's a Daily Gun Show that's got little bitty text. Shame on you, G.
Yeah, I just put the title in there. Matt,
There's a reason. There's a reason, right? That people do that. That you see that is because you just illustrated that. You're like, I'll just see that in there. Like, people do not typically put a whole lot of thought into start to finish on their thumbnail. And you hit the nail on the head earlier with something when you're talking about thumbnails, that people think about their thumbnail after the fact. I've thought about the video concept. I've shot the video. I've edited it. The video's done. It's uploaded to YouTube. Oh crap! I need to make a thumbnail. Think about your thumbnail before you ever even start your video. Before you ever even think about your thumbnail from the point in content creation that you're thinking about that video concept. You've got that idea written on your whiteboard. Hey, I want to do a video about X, Y, Z. Part as you're thinking about elements you need to film, go ahead and start thinking about your thumbnail design at that point. So then when it becomes time, not only so that along the way, if something interesting happens, you can go, oh man, I need to take a screenshot, or I need to pose for a specific thing, or I need to, stop in the middle of this frame for this specific screenshot because this happened or whatever, or hey, I need to make this goofy face, right? Or something, because that's going to be my hook to get people in the title or the catchy thing on the thumbnail, the catchy text or whatever. And so you're prepared and you have options ahead of time, and you're not just throwing something together after the fact. Most people throw stuff together after the fact.
That's a great point. Let's take a second and dig in on that if you're down. So I think there's a question to ask. Are you making content because you're trying to get a point across, because you're trying to create awareness, because you've got a message and you're trying to get that out, or you've got the creative urge and you're trying to see what people appreciate, I guess, as far as creativity? Or are you is your motivation growth and achievement? Like, are you trying to reach hurdles either of size or scale or speed or something? And if you're looking at your creation of content as is at this point, because there's nothing meaning you can't change direction or change I guess reasons or whatever. But if you're at a time when you want to actually do something, get something accomplished, and not just participate, not just be part of, not just do, because most people, like, I agree with you, most people are putting their thumbnail out after the fact. They're thinking of it as part of the tasks, not a part of the construction, part of the wrap up, I guess, not part of the prep. But if you're looking at this, I want my video to perform, not I want to put my video in the pile. I want to make my video and I want to make sure it's on the shelf. I want to make my video and then see how good it does. I want to make my video and then put it out there for the world, right? If that's your goal, then make your video and put it out there. But if your goal is, I want my video to do well, I want my projects to perform, I want my videos to take me to a place, then let's look at it like cereal or something on the shelf of a store. They are a company that can make cereal. They can comfortably make any kind of cereal you want. Strawberry cereal, chocolate cereal, which is the only good cereal, cookie cereal, s'mores, whatever you want. They can make it. That's not the issue. They're not trying to show you that they're such a great chef. They're not trying to tell you that cherry cereal is the new thing that you should try. They're trying to make money with their company. So they're going to look at the shelf and go, all right, there's 6 or 8 berry cereals out here. There's a couple of brand cereals. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, looking at what's out there already. And they're going to say, it's not out here? A big round box. It's not out here, like a box that looks like a bowl or something, like a box that is a bowl. They're going to find something that's going to make them look different on the shelf. And then they're going to create their product. So if you're not looking at what's out there, Like Matt has done this thumbnail for a while, but look at it in contrast to Polite Society. Look at Polite Society in contrast to when they're paying attention and they're not. Look at these people like they go in, use the default settings, use a default image, and then throw a flag underneath of it. Look at the people that are just doing their cookie cutter versus the people that, well, we're not going to find it because I'm not watching people that are really up and running. But you look at somebody who's doing this, maybe if I just clicked over here, we'd find more people that are just really competing. And you'll find that their thumbnails intriguing. Their thumbnails are going to make you want to go, what? Like, what's going on with that? Not like who is these people or why am I seeing this? It's going to be more of you're going to almost feel an urge to click on it because they've figured out some of the elements that are out there to make, well, I'll shut up. I think I'm getting my point across, right? Like if you're trying to make content, then you got to start with what's the first thing people are going to find? What are they looking for? How do you get there? And then how do you get them to click on yours?
Well,
what can you do to make them facilitate it?
Let's talk about, since you brought up Matt. Matt's is going to be long form. It's going to be very similar to Charlie's and obviously similar to the Polite Society podcast. More akin to Polite Society podcast. And if, on the screen, what we're looking at, I don't know if this is ever going to audio world, but we're talking about 3 long form pieces of content, but where Charlie's is focused on one particular guest, right? Which makes the thumbnail design a lot easier. It's kind of a predetermined thing. Polite Society and Matt's, the Guns and Geeks podcast, who knows, especially Matt's, who knows where that live stream, where that podcast goes, right? What roads it goes down.
Polite
right?
Society knows who their guests are going to be. They only have
they know the guests. They know the guests,
them.
but they don't necessarily know where the conversations are going to go or anything like that either, right? So, what I'm saying is, it becomes increasingly more difficult to be able to put up a unique podcast. A unique thumbnail ahead of time, right? But I do agree that Matt's is a little better thought out as far as a thumbnail that has to be something that's at least just a placeholder until now once the stream is over. Could he have another template that he could plug in some weird things they talked about, right? Superman wearing a pink cape or something maybe they talked about, or a crossover episode, some crossover episode between Star Trek and some other TV show, and you can throw in some kind of a screen grab or something with that into that template, right? And then retitle not just the Guns and Geek podcast, which is like he's got, but you retitle that something to do with that particular
the pink cape
little
episode.
thing that was said. Yeah, the pink cape episode. Yeah. Something catchy, something, and then switch that over. And so it's a totally different strategy is what I'm getting at when you're talking long form. As your, not even long form, but as your content type changes, the thumbnail design and stuff changes. I'll tell you one that I think is pretty good. Scroll back up because you had She Fires. Is hers still on there where she was at? I don't even see it now. It went away. Dang it. That's fine. Oh, there it is. So almost.
It must be because it's older. So on my feed, it's showing up older, but on my general feed, she's right at the top.
Yeah. So like that right there, and for those in the audio, it's her standing at the range, basically holding a firearm, and and that's her. The deal for her live. That's pretty awesome. So anyway, standing at the range, holding the handgun, and there's 4 words there, and that is it. And the 4 words are not. It's basically the same as her title because she's talking about getting the most out of your range day, but this is at the gun range so it's different. It's not the same. What's interesting is there's a page.
The rest of her thumbnails, though.
There's a page.
So when you're looking at her thumbnails, it would be like that's like the pink cape. That's like her version of the pink cape. This is the gun range episode.
No. I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not knocking it. I'm pointing out all the and I know for a fact that she pays attention to the art of content creation, and she does. So, and you can tell there's subtleties in this thumbnail. I have problems with this thumbnail, don't get me wrong, but there's subtleties in this thumbnail and the use of the words that she uses, um, the contrast that she has attempted to create by putting those words, the placement of those words on the screen. She put those words in a paved, rocky portion of the range that has a completely different background that contrasts wonderfully. There's two things on this thumbnail, and she may listen to this eventually if she's not out there listening and just not able to chime in. Two things on this particular thumbnail that I would tweak. Number one, the off kilter area of the range, like the lines on the paved portion, rocky portion of the range, like don't line up. That's freaking me out. Um, that could be potentially blown up a little more, and then um, tweaked just a little bit by skewing that or rotating it. And then the at the gun range would fit in there a little bit better and everything would be more symmetrical, I guess. And then number two, there's no need for her to be that small on the screen, which also makes the firearm that she's using small on the screen. So she could have been blown up or at least zoom in closer to her with the entire image.
So that her elbow is but down at the bottom of the screen instead of her waist.
Yeah, pretty, and even the top of her head can be clipped just a little bit. It could be, so that's going to make the firearm bigger. It's going to draw a little more focus to that, which is intriguing. Well, what firearm is that? And then
hover
and
over
then it potentially could put the words. Yeah, you can't. And then that would also potentially put the words on top of her, on top of or behind. So it would create some depth in her image as well. So imagine if she was blown up and part of the E was over her elbow, right? Or something along that lines. But I mean, those are minor things. It's like I said, it's obvious by looking. Yeah, it's obvious by looking at this that she puts thought into her thumbnails. Now, I'm not real sure what the red and white stuff. Yeah, I can't even read that. So again, we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about chicks with wispy thin fonts, which is what I talked about earlier. So there you go. Because like as big as it is on my screen, and I still can't read it. So like that's just.
It's probably
I don't even know that that's visible on mobile.
Different preferences, different brain types, or whatever. So there's probably people that dig that, like, oh, and then they look at it and they feel like, oh, okay, I read something, like where I just want to see it and be on with it. Like we're assuming everybody else just wants to just be on with it. I think one of the easiest things to do would have been to AI or Photoshop the grass out from behind her butt, and then that gives you all that room. Just make that gravel, the whole thing fake gravel. Gets the same point across. Maybe just the green down at the bottom, because it is neat to have like the kind of thirds type of thing going. But yeah, make that at the gun range a little bit bigger. Make it a cant. Or actually, I don't mind having at the gun range. Like I said, this coincides with her other thumbnails. So it's, as you're looking at her list of thumbnails, now it's like, oh, this is the at the gun range episode. The other one is I'm buying a gun for my friend episode. But I think it's a great thumbnail. I don't know about the zooming in and everything. I mean, I guess. I mean, it's almost like, if you're going to paint the house, you're going to paint it yellow or you're going to paint it blue. I mean, it's kind of like, at that point, it's the color change. Like, once you put this much effort into it to make it easy to read and visually effective.
It's subtle. The things I was picking on was subtle. I'll pick on another one. Her body language, the tilt of her body is away from the center of the image. Which is to me is true. Odd.
No, it's just
so if you took
feng shui or whatever.
If the pistol was in her other hand and then you shifted her image to the left side of that thumbnail, that would look better, because she's got that slight tilt and it's going away from the thumbnail, so it just looks, to me, that just looks weird. But here's the thing too.
The weird part is it's a 9mm gun instead of a decent gun.
This is true. Well, you don't know that. It could be 380, right? I don't know what it is. I can't tell. But anyway, here's the thing, and keep this in mind. Screen grabs work, obviously. Just photos work. Anytime we talk about thumbnail design, it's important to keep in mind that as creators, because thumbnail is such a part of our process and we deal with it on an absolute regular, basis and everything, that sometimes we pay too much attention to thumbnails and we can nitpick and we can over design and we can do a lot of other weird things. Um, so some of the stuff that we even nitpick on people's thumbnails here, like sheep ours, I think a lot of the stuff I'm talking about with hers, it's things that annoy me. It's things that I would probably change, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's holding her back, or that doesn't mean that she should. Should you always experiment with thumbnails? Yeah, absolutely. But I would say, don't anytime that you, I guess, take it with a grain of salt. Is what I'm saying. When anybody gives you, thumbnail advice, um, take it with a grain of salt. Tweak a few things here and there. Constantly play with it. You should be doing that anyway, um, because your design may just work. And then you got things like Maj's here, man. That
Well, hold on. Before we get into these, I think that's a point. Like you're bringing up elements of a thumbnail that aren't. These are taste. These are style. These are choices that are individual, and there is no. This is what audiences like. There is none of that. So there's the I liked this for a while, and then I changed my mind, and now I like this. So people even themselves will change their mind over time and stuff. There's trends and fads and stuff. So when we're talking about the elements of a thumbnail in a show like this, it's not like we give a shit if somebody actually changes what we're talking about. We're just using those as like an instructor or like a clinician to say, here's an element. Like we're about to talk about Alex's thumbnail here on the left. Like here's an element, the font color, the font size. Look at the font on Maj's on the left where it has a larger, and it's got it's all caps, which I don't like, but it's got a border around it, so it pops from the background. You can actually see the lettering from the background where that white would have bled right into the building or whatever if there wasn't that outline. And when we're talking about that, it's not like we're saying always use Maj's font. We're not saying never use Alex's font. We're just using that as to talk about, to point at. But there's lots of things going on. Also, we've seen channels where they like the vibe or the aesthetic of having all of their thumbnails very consistent. And while none of the things that are in their consistency are good elements for their fight with other videos on the what do you want to call it, like the feed or the stream, when they go to their channel, they're happy with what their effect. They're happy with the vibe of their channel. Where some channels you go in and it's like a junk pile of thumbnails that were, whatever. The thumbnails are all over the place. And when you look at their channel, it's like looking at a mess. And then you go to some that have an element of consistency. And then some of them are completely consistent. And, if that's your style, that's great. But again, are you creating an aesthetically awesome looking channel? Or are you fighting with other channels and you're trying to get something accomplished? And in the grand scheme of things, the number of people that go to your channel are this big, and the number of people that find your videos and interact with them are some scale bigger that it's not even funny. Like it's just a massively bigger number of people that are just casually going to watch one of your videos, give you that number you're looking for, and never look at you again. Versus the people that are like, wow, I really like the vibe on this channel. I'm going to hang out and watch everything they do. You're going to find like 16 people like that, and you're going to find 1,600 people that just watch a video and move on.
There's another element too that we got to talk about, and that is the professional appearance. So having some consistency, having some rhyme or reason, putting some thought into it. Yeah, you're right. It's all about the viewer, not about the subscriber. Creators hang their hats way too much on subscribers, and it's honestly all about the viewers. Vast majority of people is going to watch your stuff. It's going to cause your channel to grow. It's going to create you ad revenue. You pick the metric. Is random passerbys that watch your video, right? And so they're going to hit that. Okay, maybe the thumbnail enticed them. Maybe the title enticed them. They clicked it. They watched it. They ain't coming back. They don't care. They didn't pay attention to any branding really. Like they don't care. On the flip, and let's say that you have a podcast and you are looking to book guests, right? We can take this away from the realm of money. I tend to go down the realm of the rabbit hole, the realm of money when I talk about this. Like you go to a show, go to a trade show, you meet with some companies, and then they go vet you. They pull up your channel, right? But this could go with just making it easier for people to say yes to book, a guest spot or to book an interview with you or, anything like that, right? Allow you to come shoot in their venue or their location even. Um, they vet you, anybody that you're approaching to do quote unquote business with or whatever as a content creator, and then they vet you. There's a certain element of um, professionalism, right? That can be portrayed by the way your channel page is laid out, by your thumbnail designs, by that sort of stuff. So, you got to keep that in mind. While it's not, I agree with you, G. The layout of your channel, the channel design, the design of the thumbnails, I should say, not paramount on a channel wide level. Per video level, yes. On a channel wide video, not paramount for getting views, right? There are things that it's probably worth a little bit of effort in doing. Just depending on
Thumbnails aren't
long-term
permanent.
goals or whatever.
Thumbnails aren't permanent. So if your goal is to get subscribers, that's your full speed on subscribers, then you're going to want to keep tweaking your thumbnail as it performs, and you're going to see how it performs with, I'm just going to say blue background, see how it performs with yellow letters, see how it performs with like Clover said, with the gun pointed in or the gun pointed out. And that's just time. Guess what? None of this is fast. So with time, you leave it somewhere for 6 months and you see what it did. You leave it the other way for 6 months or 6 weeks, whatever, you see what it did. That's boring, and that's how you figure out what your best thumbnail is. Now you can go, all right, and I'm going to leave it at that best performing thumbnail, which may not be permanent. It may have to change to another one, and you may be constantly tweaking stuff like that. Or you don't want to do that. You go, I'm going to put up a performing thumbnail, a performance thumbnail, a thumbnail that attracts eyeballs, not appeals to my audience, but like attracts audience. You put that thumbnail up for the first week or the first month or whatever the time frame is. Then after an appropriate amount of time or whatever, you figure, you flip it to your consistent thumbnail that gives you that aesthetic you're looking for on your channel. Now your first couple of videos are going to be fairly chaotic because they're going to have thumbnails that attract the viewers that you're looking for, but then they turn into a thumbnail on your, in your archives that give you that consistency and I think what Clover is going at, when a client or a customer is going to come along and go, what's this channel look like? If they just see a big mess, doesn't matter if it's a huge mess, it's a mess. But if they see a nice looking channel, even if it's a small, nice looking channel, they usually go, okay, this guy's not huge yet, or this person isn't huge yet, but they're obviously organized and on their way to being huge. I'm looking to be interested to be part of this, where, that could be a small channel, a small entity, where again, huge mess is just still a mess. But I'm going off on a tangent. Do we want to, or did you want to keep on, or do you want to look at these two? We got some. He insists on being muted. So we also.
Yeah, I was just gonna real quickly. I wasn't gonna comment heavily on Maj's there, but I was gonna real quickly just say, when you put a thumbnail up like Maj has there, with the obscenity that it's what do they call that, censored or whatever. And then and I'm not saying Maj does this. That's on the screen, so I'm using it as an example. When you do this and then you complain about, oh, I don't know why my video's not monetized. Yes, you do. Like, be real. Yes, you do. You've got a freaking obscenity in the title, and it doesn't matter if it's censored. I mean, in the title, in the thumbnail. And yes, it's censored, but if you'll read policy, it doesn't matter. So there you go. Just be mindful of that.
Yeah, and you'll go, well, other channels will do it.
Thumbnails matter for monetization, is what I'm saying.
Well, they matter for lots of things, for lots of ranking and stuff. Sure. And it doesn't matter what the policy of the thing is. If human beings see this and they go, click, I'm offended. Click, I'm offended. Click, I'm offended. Who cares what the policy of the thing is? They're offending people. So, I'm not saying this is going to offend people, but I'm using
This is
that
true.
logo in the
Yeah.
center. That organization offends me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if you're going to do something that is going to, and this is
Well,
designed to create a reaction, otherwise you wouldn't
curse
put it.
words create emotion. I mean, that's why
Right.
people use them. Let's be honest.
That's what I'm
They
saying. And you're going
evoke
to find
emotion.
that
Yeah.
you're doing that around church people. They're going to have an emotion that you're going to hear about.
Yeah.
You do that around people in a concert, and you're not going to get any emotion from them because that's how they're talking anyway, and they could care less if
Yeah.
you say it.
Right.
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 So
Yeah.
again, like, know what you're doing. If you're trying to get
Yeah.
people pissed, then they're going to get pissed and they're going to thumb down your video, and the video is going to get pulled off the logarithm or worse, because some of them are going to report you. They think it's cool to report you for something. And again, oh, I don't know why I'm performing. Well, you pissed off a bunch of people, and those human beings screwed with you. Wow. And then you piss off enough people, and they create little organizations of fucking with you. But then the what do you call it? The system will, again, like Clover's saying, 100%. The system isn't crazy. They don't know who you are, and they don't know what your real thing is. But they do know that people are weird, and weird people put that stuff in their thumbnails. So you're now putting yourself with all the weird people. And what are you supposed to do? That system is supposed to be so dynamically aware that it knows that you're cool and you're just doing everything just like a weird person, but you're cool. Come on, we don't want a system that's good. Or, you know what I'm saying? We don't want a system that can figure that out, because that's a horrible system to be dealing with.
So dealing with that, and we can move on, but dealing with
I was going to talk about Alex's. I think it's a good one. I mean, obviously the contrast here on the left for his, oops, I can't hover over anything, but the contrast with his writing is bad, but I like his hand over his dark colored shirt pointing at the thing. You figure out, okay, he's going to be talking about that. Go ahead.
So first of all, on the profanity, my typical response to that is, quote, I stopped watching that person because they don't curse enough. Said no one ever. So that's one of my, and I think I'm the one that come up with that. But yeah, like, that is not a thing, right? People quit channels because they cursed or they did this or they did that all the freaking time. You never hear somebody the opposite way around, ever. So, yeah, back to Alex though. Move to Alex now. I would like to see, like, there's potential in the route that Alex went there. First of all, I agree with you. The words are horrible. I mean, there's no contrast at all. Even if there was a black border around that, I don't know how well it would pop with white words if maybe it was a different color or something, maybe. Again, he's got the branding that's covering up a portion. The branding in the bottom right would be a little better, and a little bit smaller branding, I think, as well. This particular thumbnail, here's what I would like to see with this thumbnail. And we're just talking about the image setup, right? We're talking about staging the image.
And he's just sitting in his office against a yellow wall, holding a.
No, I get it. Well, I could care less about the color of the wall. You could make it all work, I think, better.
I'm just describing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Forget about the audio folks. My apologies, audio folks. So, yeah, he's standing there. He's holding up a picture and he's pointing to it, right? Basically.
It's a picture off of his wall, like a framed picture.
Yes. And it's a big picture, right? So that picture looks like it came off the wall behind him if we're looking at him to the left. That's what it looks like, because there's a bookshelf on the right, and that may not be the case, but there's way more space over there, right? So, but here's what I'd like to see. Again, we're talking about a lot of empty space in this thumbnail, right? What if he held the picture on his right instead of his left? He held it down lower and more square to the camera, where that you could see a lot more of the picture. And then he pointed to it. He was standing over in front of the bookcase, and then he was pointing to it. So the staging of the photo, and there's a reason that I wanted to talk about that, because again, it gets back into thinking about these elements while you're filming, while you've got the camera running. So you can go, oh man, I need to stand here and hold this way for like 2 seconds. That way I can do a screen grab on this or whatever, right? For my thumbnail. And so I think if he did that, shifted the side of the picture, squared it up to the camera a little more, made it all bigger. It was down lower, so he was bigger in the photo as well, and then pointed to it. I don't even think you would need the text or any other element, to be quite honest with you. I think that would
Now
be
take a look at the
spot
size
on.
of Alex and his thumbnail and the size of Maj. So
Right.
big difference, right? If you're
Yeah.
going to be in it and you want your face out there, then you might as well put your face out there, not your elbows, right? You don't need your
Meh.
elbows in the
Right.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. Um, so there's a lot to be said when you're, like you're saying, staging for the video or thinking about everything as a big piece. If you can, and once you're doing a lot of quantity, you hopefully figure this out too. But if you can stage that thing so that you're doing something most of the time through the middle of the video that's thumb worthy ish, then you don't hardly have to cut a thumbnail. Like if you're like you're saying, if you know you want that picture on the left and you want to be standing on the right and you want to be pointing at it, somewhere in the middle of your video, just keep pointing at it, and it's going to pull a thumb out of the, it's going to pull a slice out of the middle of your video somewhere. And unless your eyes are closed or something, you might just get your thumbnail by YouTube. Um, but I was just going to say, as far as uh, the what am I trying to say, logo down there at the bottom left. Yeah, just the Forge by itself. Everybody should have a logo, and then they should have their mini logo or their fast logo. So just the Forge without any background, just the black version of the Forge, like if it was a stamp, like literally, like if it was a rubber
Watermark.
stamp on the
Yeah.
video, watermark. On top of everything, but just the Forge and the whole Forge, the size of that square, but it would be essentially transparent because it's got so much cutout in it. It's like a water cut, or whatever that's called. And then the thumb, I would say there should be a title. I like having words in there, but I think it should say something like, does poetry matter to 2A, or does poetry matter to you, or have you read this, or something like well, that's interesting. I've never thought about that, and then the title is poetry to carry with you through hard times. And yeah, don't need to definitely repeat the title ever, but I do see where you could have something in there,
Maybe
because pointing at a picture of
maybe
a poetry is not necessarily self-evident. So maybe something like, have you read poetry, or does poetry reach you, or something like that.
or maybe something like art versus poetry or something.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so uh, we're at an hour, so I'm going to start digging into some of the starred questions. So thanks for everybody who's joining us live. We've
Yeah,
been
let's do
mentioning
it.
a couple of things and clicking on some comments as we've been chatting here. But Snob is saying, I found some of my best performing thumbnails. Wave a good pick and an arrow with maybe one or two words. Oh, I think he means have. So it's
Have.
just
Yeah.
well, I found some of my best performing thumbnails have a good pick with an arrow, maybe one or two words. So I know on other projects we work on, arrows are the shit. But I haven't well, I guess I have some arrows on YouTube now, but I don't have arrows on any channel I've ever cared about. So you ever used arrows? I mean, I
Oh
guess I
yeah,
must have an arrow
I
at
use
some
arrows
point.
constantly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the last video I dropped, was it? I think the last video I dropped, last couple maybe even. Especially when you're talking, oh yeah, especially when you're talking about reviews. So the last one I dropped has 4 arrows, right? And so there's a reason for that.
Oh, nobody needs that many arrows. I
Because
think
I've got, I
arrows are
know,
enough
right? I
place.
know, right? So there's a reason for that is, you do a review or whatever, and then I've got arrows to specific parts of the handgun that I talk about. 4 specific parts, not all the ones I talk about, but 4, right? And so that creates intrigue. Like, oh, why is that arrow pointing there, right? Like, and then all the text is OMG. But um, so the text doesn't give away that. It's like OMG, and there's arrows. What's wrong with these point parts, or what's wrong with these? It's an attempt to create that intrigue or whatever. Um, no, solid. And we talked about it, I think, when Snob first put that comment up a little bit. The photography, the picture, whatever. Um, man, that's why we talk about staging it and being aware of that ahead of time, so you can try to get the best picture, whatever possible. What drives me insane is when I'm running through stuff and I don't give a lot of thought to it, and then I'm in post and I'm trying to do a screen grab, and there's too much blur because I'm moving. So if you have enough thought, you're thinking about it ahead of time, you can do that pause where you hold that thing up or point at the thing or make the face, and count down in your brain, 1001, 1002, 1003 while you're being still. And then enough of a lapse there that if a leaf is blowing in the background or, if anything like that's going on, hopefully you can catch an actual still and you don't have movement going on, because that can be difficult too. If you just try to grab, oh, well, I'm going to point at this, and you're not thinking, I need to point at this and pause while I'm pointing at this.
Give your CCDs a chance to actually focus. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times I'll point to stuff, but I'm moving my hand around while I'm pointing that way or whatever, and it's like you got to be still to get that screen grab. So just keep that in mind. Tip for a better photo, or just take an actual photo.
Well, let's see. So Gear Report, I found that when I'm browsing, I want to make my decision based on the thumbnail and don't want to have to read the title.
Yep. Uh-huh.
You don't know that the title's even going to be displayed depending on the system and how it's all coming down. You might only see, especially in some of the search engines, they don't bother with words when you go to something like the video tab. They know you want to see thumbnails. So if you go to the picture tab, you got to click on it to see whatever it's going to say, or read.
Yeah, I don't even, I definitely thumbnail first, and then if the thumbnail intrigues me, then I'll read the title. But the thumbnail has to intrigue me before I read the title. No doubt.
I don't browse that much that I care. So usually the thumbnail lets me know, like I can tell Jared's video because of the thumbnail. I can tell Paul's video.
Oh, it tells you what not to watch as much as what to watch. I
just know who it is. I know Charlie's, and then I have to look at it and go, who is this? But at least, since pretty much everybody we know.
Like I'm not, I recognize Matt's, like I'm not clicking on Matt's because I don't have 2 hours or whatever. Like I know that, right? So I'm like,
Oh, and it's just going to be the same thing. They all say everything over and over. And it's all the same, whatever they said on the news.
Well, the same goes for Charlie. Charlie's are usually like an hour. If I'm looking for okay, I got 15 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like I know.
I don't watch. I watch for I want to learn about so and so. Like Jim Shepard.
I can always.
I don't know about that one, but when it's like somebody who's the head of an organization that I've been interested in, then I know I'm going to add Charlie's 1 hour thing to my list.
So that's what I was going to say. But there's a difference too. We're talking about clicking and watching, and that's one thing, or clicking and listening in some cases, but clicking and saving that to your watch later or whatever is a thing too. Like there are like Charlie's, I would likely go, oh, Charlie's got a new one, and it's like I ain't got time now, but I click it, watch later, and move on. Pretty good just photo thumbnail with Travis P11 there. Speaking of thumbnail.
I don't ever use that feature, so that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. And
the lighting could be better there, but that's obviously done outdoors and.
Well, it's super fake for one because it's not snowing right now, but it's almost like a silhouette. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not the best picture, I guess, but I think for a thumbnail, it works really good because it does look like a silhouette. But then as you look at it, it starts to turn into a picture because there is more going on.
Yeah, a no element photo thumbnail. That's pretty solid for a no element photo only. Pretty solid.
But I'm not sure the caliber, so. But
probably 9mm. To be honest.
I guess I was going to say is our people that we follow, people that we know, at least in the gun community, they put their thumbnail together and then they're done. Like maybe at some point they'll change it and then it's there now permanently. Nobody plays with their thumbnails except for maybe Ghost a little bit. Very few people play with their stuff. So again, it's like for whatever the reasons are, that's their podcast. Travis is going to look like that. This guy's going to look like that. They're going to look like that. So it's almost like magazine covers. They're and unintentionally, I think, giving themselves some of that consistency.
Mm-hmm. So, when you dropped out the first time, I got on a rant about shorts, and that's a whole different show. We're over an hour in. We're not going to go down that road. But keep in mind, for people out there that do play the shorts games or whatever, one of the reasons shorts has gained popularity is shorts are really being served up in search and all of that stuff. Now, people that are just scrolling through a feed for shorts, the thumbnail, the screenshot, the thumbnail, whatever for shorts, you don't really have an option for a thumbnail. Um, but the screen grab or whatever that's used on shorts can hold some importance when it comes to your shorts showing up under search and people clicking on them. So a little bit of a tip for thumbnails with shorts in mobile, as long as you upload your short through mobile, you can select your screen grab. You can scroll through that image, scroll through that video and pick the image, right? So again, when you're filming that short, you can stage plan for that screen grab. Now, if you're doing a short for some reason, you're filming it on your phone, and then you edit it on a PC and you're just uploading that short from your PC. There are people that do that. I do not do that anymore. I used to do that because I'm more PC centric. But what I'll do now is I'll edit on PC. I can't see well enough to edit on a freaking phone. Come on. But then what I'll do is I'll shoot that video back to my phone and then I'll upload or the short back to my phone and upload it through the app so that I could pick that thumbnail scene or screen grab. So
That's
just keep that in
interesting.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good hack. All right, I've been scrolling through thumbnails there, and sometimes after chatting about them, just thinking about elements of them instead of just looking at them, you start seeing the facets or pieces of them or whatever. How crazy was it to see Get Off My Lawn show up? I guess he just accidentally re-uploaded one or something.
I know, right? Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a bunch of them out there and a bunch of different styles and tastes. I really don't think you should yearn for having some specific thumbnail style and then leave it there. I think you're better off fiddling with it. Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
adapting and changing. There's just no point.
And like you said,
nobody's like, I wish there was more swearing. Nobody's like, I wish your thumbnails were more boring and consistent.
yeah, and like you said earlier, don't just experiment and play with your new designs. Go back. If you do a new thumbnail design,
like nothing's permanent at all. It's only permanent if you're lazy and don't want to do nothing about it.
If you do a new thumbnail design, you change over, you switch something up on this latest video, and you're like, wow, that video did really well. Like the click through, the CTR is really good on that. Wonder if it's the thumbnail design. Then go back and find an older video, and then remake a thumbnail for that video with a similar design and change the thumbnail. And I mean, you could kick that video. I mean, you could kickstart, push start, whatever, that older video. It's entirely possible, or maybe maybe you have an older video that is a well performing video. And I know I've changed up designs on older thumbnails before because of this. That I'll have an older video that's really, for whatever reason, it's over the last few months or something, I've noticed that, oh man, this is really doing well. Well, if it's doing well, I know it's showing up in people's feeds. And so, you know what? I would like that thumbnail to be more consistent with my newer thumbnails, because if that's kind of gotten some popularity and people are clicking and watching through their feed, obviously YouTube is going to serve them more of my content. And if YouTube is serving them more of my content, it would be nice if the thumbnail design and everything was recognizable, so that otherwise they get a video in their feed of mine that's, let's just say, 3 or 4 years old, and it's some weird thumbnail design. It's just a phase that I went through, whatever, that's cool. And they enjoyed that video. They watched it. They enjoyed it. They thumbs up. They commented. They're like, oh, wow, this is cool. And again, most people, they ain't going to subscribe. That's it's YouTube is one of these, is a very selfish thing when it comes to viewers, right? They're going to go, they're going to watch, they're going to walk away for the most part. But But YouTube is going to continue to serve them up, like if they enjoyed it, especially if they engaged or they liked or they did something like that. So what happens when YouTube throws up another one of my videos, but the thumbnail design is the design, the overall design of it is so drastically different, right? That there's nothing that's a similarity, and it can go both ways. So just keeping that in mind as you have older videos and newer videos, and sometimes um, depending on how they're doing in any particular cycle of the year, or what am I thinking, or what's popular, what's trendy, right? Maybe you did some weird 9mm video a year ago, and now
You're
because
regretting it.
everybody's freaking out over how horrible 9mm is, it's become the trendy thing. You know, um, maybe that's an opportunity to switch up the 45 ACP video thumbnail as well. Is all I'm getting at.
I think that's it. If anybody else has any
Yay.
points or whatever, at least that's the rest of the thumbs that we had. Outcast saying that you weren't holding any punches. Well, it wouldn't be useful if we were just like, everybody's awesome, everybody's great. Look what a great job everybody did. Look how awesome this is. Oh, what a unique perspective on that. We never said anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Um,
I think he was joking.
so,
And with the two examples I hammered on those, Charlie and Sheep Hours, I've literally had StreamYard coaching sessions privately with both of them, and so I know for a fact they don't be offended if you are for them, because I can assure you they're not with my comments on their thumbnails.
oh, you know what I keep always forgetting to do, and I'm not going to forget to do it today, is I'm going to go see if Cape Gunworks has got their Grace Curley show posted yet. But one of the reasons we started doing this specifically on Tuesday was because the Cape Gunworks does their rapid fire radio show on Tuesdays. They do a 45-minute segment with Grace Curley talking about Second Amendment related things. And of course, in Massachusetts right now, there's a concern over the bill that's essentially being pushed through as fast and as in any way possible by the anti side. So a lot of concern about that. So Toby goes live and addresses those questions and concerns on the Grace Curley show, and then on Wednesdays they do a show of their own called the Rapid Fire Radio, but it is not yet posted. So I guess I'll just go back to. My computer's obviously running slow, but we have the option to zap a video in as a recommended video. So I'm going to find one here. Can you think of anything that anyone or any short or any thumbnails, since we've been kind of talking about thumbnails, I guess, any thumbnails that have been uniquely good or like amazingly effective, or a campaign that was stood out?
Not really, because like I said, it's so dependent upon, and that's what you have to be hip to and realizing kind of ahead of time. You got to realize your topic and how that particular topic is going to affect your thumbnail design. So, I mean, I don't have any. It's hard to really get specific unless you're picking on a specific channel, and then you can, then you can start picking things apart and going, oh, this worked really well or that worked really well. But just because that worked really good for one person's project, or their series or whatever the case may be, may not work for somebody else. So, there are some elements that seem to be universal. Yellows and reds seem to do really well in thumbnails. That's why if you scroll through, especially if you do incognito mode and scroll through, right, where YouTube's not giving you actual feed, it's doing it based on general popularity rather than anything specialized. You'll see a lot of reds and yellows and stuff. And you'll notice I use a lot of yellow. I don't like using red. That's why I don't. That's why you'll see a lot of yellow heavy with the text and the arrows and stuff in my thumbnails. Um, and it's contrast too, because obviously with Clover Tack, there's a lot of green in my branding and other things. So it's also a contrast to the green. Don't know if that answered the question or not, but
Well, I was also throwing it out there for anybody else that's seen any thumbnails that they got or they dug or that seemed effective or intriguing or something, maybe that stood out. I guess that's the idea of ideal condition of a thumbnail. We linked over to Ghost Show, so I can't find Cape Gunworks, so I figured let's link to Ghost. He's got the Armed Citizen podcast every Tuesday. He's got it up already, so we're linking to that. And I don't know where I was going with that because I got too many windows.
I don't understand Roy out there. Roy says, "I'll never forget when Clover savagely insulted beloved prop comedian. I can't even talk this morning, Carrot Top. I don't remember ever doing that, so I don't know if he's being funny or what. But Carrot Top's awesome.
Well, I don't like Carrot Top, but I don't go around talking shit about him unless it's some kind of rag on Carrot Top. I'll probably jump on that.
I don't know him. I don't know him personally, but
yeah, it's not like I care that much. I think there's a couple of times when he's been like super annoying to somebody, and I was like, "Well, that's one of the reasons I don't like this guy." And he was super annoying, like in a movie or something. I don't even know.
I don't know this for sure, but he may be one of the longest. He may be the longest running show in Vegas at this point too. Dude works his butt off.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember seeing him some like not working things. I think now that I'm thinking about it too, like just him being a normal and people bugging him. You know, like, oh, aren't you good? I'm like, hey, leave me alone. I'm not on stage. There's Chris from 740 saying hey, and dang, there was something I was gonna say here as I was looking for something to link to, and yeah, I guess I lost it with all the screens. You gotta be careful because if you click on the wrong thing, you know, you turn something off or put the link in the wrong place and it doesn't show up where it's supposed to. But I don't know. So next week we'll get back on topic. I'll have everything set up ahead of time. We'll go back to wherever we're at in the series on intermediate content creators sort of chats. I guess you got a minute? I'm going to take a second and figure out where we're at on that. We have an after chat scheduled, so the people that are jumping into that are going to be jumping into that. If you'd like to get coaching, specific coaching for your projects, or something else, let us know. You can reach either of us through the social platforms or emails or however you're going to contact us. I don't think we're hard to find. Here's the comment from Roy. He's muted. One time Clover said, what am I going to do in Vegas besides SHOT Show? It's not like I'm going to go see Carrot Top.
Oh, that wasn't a dig. That wasn't a dig on. Yeah, that wasn't a dig on. That wasn't a dig on Carrot Top. Come on, I get how it can be perceived that way, but my point there is SHOT Show week's about SHOT Show. But yeah, I probably did say that. It's valid. But it wasn't a dig on Carrot Top. That was a SHOT Show week's about SHOT Show. One of these days, I don't know. I can watch so much Carrot Top on TV. Like, I don't know that it would be the same. Kind of like trying to watch sports ball live. I mean, I used to dig some of that in like high school football and stuff. Can be fun. But like when you get up into professional and you get up into some of that, like sometimes watching it on TV, like theater is the same way. Like I really enjoy like local theater productions of stuff, but so I want to go sit and watch. And I've been to quite a few comedy shows, not Carrot Top. I've never been to that one, and like comedians, and watching their stand-up specials or something on Netflix or something is like, oh my God, you lay across the bed or kick back in the recliner or whatever. So there's that element too, I guess. unless you're like lucky enough to get front row seating, and then that might be okay. But let's be honest, how much are you going to have to pay for that? Front row seating to Carrot Top? Come on.
That could be upwards of $40.
I bet it's considerably more expensive than that, but I hear you.
All right, so I wanted to go back and check out where we're at on the series, talking about kind of advanced stuff. Last time it was trends and future outlook. This time, next Tuesday, it'll be special episodes. So expert roundtables, listener Q&As, and case studies. So that's interesting. I don't know if we must. This was kind of a listener Q&A, but yeah, we kind of Well, we'll talk about that next Tuesday.
This could be pretty much billed as thumbnails, but yeah, I hear you.
Well, no, I guess I was just saying, like, as far as interactive with the audience, the connotation here, I think, is like, here's something special you could do: interact with your live audience. Like, I would be rare that I don't have a show where I'm interacting with a live audience. So I was just looking at it. We're done though. So thanks everybody for joining us. What do you got next? You got some episodes this week of your podcast that you're doing?
Got Top Shot Chris tomorrow and Susan Myers Thursday. So it's a 2A week.
Unapologetically Armed.
Yes.
This was filmed before they went to DC with the Women for Gun Rights.
Do what?
They just got where they're at or getting back from their visit. You know, the DC
they're getting back. They're getting back from because this is not It's not pre-recorded.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking it was pre-recorded. Okay, so yeah, you'll be chatting with her after the visit. Then you'll be one of the first things she does after after action.
The only episodes that are pre-recorded are the first two because of glitches in the Matrix that happened. They did not end up going live, and then the last episode of this season may end up being pre-recorded, but everything else is recorded live. So, yeah, we'll get to hear all about the DC trip. That's why it was scheduled for this Thursday.
Right on. So, Gunswater is saying, has anyone noticed that the watch history is hidden? Like our history of stuff? Mine's right there. I mean, I use it constantly, so maybe mine never timed out, or I don't know. Do they manipulate the menus to offer items that you use, and remove things that you don't use? I really don't pay attention to the stuff I don't use, I guess. But if you're talking about on YouTube, when I open up my menu, my history's there. Now, do you mean of some people share their stuff, like their search history or something? Like, you can do that. I've never turned that stuff on, but I think that is a thing. So some people might have it turned on, in which case you'd see that as an extra element on their channel, perhaps. But
and there's also some things can glitch in your YouTube user thing, and it can be a very difficult. Time will heal that. Is usually kind of what you got to do, is just put up with it for a while. You can try logging out of every single possible device that you're logged into, and first of all, you can go through some of your settings, upper right, if you're on PC anyway, upper right settings, your account, go down to settings and go through all of that. Mobile, you're on your own, because it's going to depend on the device and the app, and then making sure you log out of everything that you're possibly logged into with your YouTube, and then trying to log back in, and obviously clear cache and cookies and other things, and come back in and see. But it could be just a straight up glitch on your account, which happens.
Well, Chris is saying it's still there. They updated the app, and now it's at the top now, and scrolls left to right.
So it's an app thing. There you go.
Just a change maybe, and that could be, the app isn't consistent. The app is going to be pushed out like a bottle in an ocean, and the first people that are closest get it, and then the next people get it, and the next people, it's going out like at some kind of time, so we don't all get everything at the exact same time. Usually it's pretty close, but there's always that potential. And then there's if you've got a phone that's this old versus the brand newest phone, you may not get the same, or the same stuff as fast or something. They might have different versions of it or something. I don't know how YouTube works, but they're pretty big. All right. Well, with that, thanks for the questions. He's saying, I hate YouTube. Well, yeah, and I hear you. YouTube doesn't do stuff to mess with us. They're trying to do quite a bit of stuff, and they're good at some things, and they're catching up with others, and they've just completely ignored things, and they're so amazing at stuff that we take it for granted because we don't even think about it. But as far as when you look at it in the big picture with everything else that's out there, the things that are similar are nowhere near, but they're also just annoyingly more restrictive. We complain about YouTube being restrictive, but I mean, we recently had some issues with in a private area of another system getting issues where YouTube is annoying, but it isn't that nanny yet. So some of this I write off, or I pay less attention to because of the size of the stuff that YouTube's dealing with. They're not going after us very often, if at all. Specifically us, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Clover's probably already on one of his phone calls, so we'll end this one. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll be back next week talking about special episodes. Oh, there's John. See. Yep, have a good Tuesday, everybody. I'm going to throw a commercial up here for our store. Again, thanks to everybody who's been buying junk off the store for keeping our lights on and our projects moving forward.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.